Welcome to Live Long Better. Live longer, age better. A brand new fitness feature from the Not Old Better Show and the American Council on Exercise, ACE. This is where science meets strength, and aging is just another word for thriving. Joining us always is Dr. Sabrena Jo, Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise. She's here to break down the real research and share how movement, mindset, and motivation can help you live longer and age better. Get ready to move smarter, feel stronger, and live fully. And now, here's your host, the award-winning Paul Vogelzang.
Welcome to Live Long Better, Live Longer, Age Better, our brand new fitness feature from the Not Old Better Show and the American Council on Exercise featuring Dr. Sabrena Jo. I'm Paul Vogelzang. I'm honored always to be with you today. You're hearing that familiar intro music, and I hope it brings you right into the space we've created for insight, optimism, and action. Today, we're talking about how to stay physically active and mentally strong as we age. And we have got just the right guest. Joining me, as always, is Dr. Sabrena Jo, the Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise. Dr. Jo is, of course, a returning guest. She has spent years studying the psychology of movement with a deep focus on older adults. Dr. Jo will walk us through the 3 psychological needs that keep us motivated: autonomy, confidence, and connection. You'll hear that again during the show, so please remember those 3 words. Just as importantly, though, Dr. Jo will share how exercise helps combat loneliness and why being part of a supportive group can make all the difference. We have got a great episode and interview today with Dr. Jo, but that's not all. Dr. Jo will also explore something that goes beyond any single workout, the 6 pillars of wellness and how they work together to help us live longer and age better, from emotional health to social support. These pillars form a whole body, whole life approach to lasting well-being. It's empowering, science-backed, and full of practical ideas. Let's dive in. Dr. Sabrena Jo, it's always so good to see you. We've been chatting a little bit, and I just enjoy that so much. Our audience just enjoys this series so much with you. So welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I love this show. I'm thrilled to be here as always. So let's do this.
Let's do it. Absolutely. I've gotten to know you pretty well over the years, and you just spend so much of your professional time researching what truly motivates people to stay active. And I think that's such an important discussion item. We talk about it. You really have spent your PhD research on these subjects. What surprised you most in kind of this area of motivation? And, specifically when it comes to kind of my age group, those of us that are kind of north of 60, I'm 68, of course. And, I kind of look at motivation differently every single day. And I talk to you and I get a different sense of motivation. So kind of bring us current.
Yeah. Well, what surprised me most is how motivation shifts with age. And that's probably not a surprise to you. You just said that it shifts every day for you almost.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at younger people, exercise is often driven by appearance or performance, whether that be, sports performance or, lifting weights in the gym type of thing. But once we hit our 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, it does seem that deeper motivators rise to the surface. So things that have more to do with function, like staying independent or keeping up with a family and the grandchildren. Maybe you're at a time in your life where you can travel more than you ever have before. So traveling with ease is often a priority for people. And really just simply enjoying daily life with less pain, to be honest. That tends to be a high motivation for people. And so these types of lifestyle-driven reasons are actually much more powerful for long-term motivation, it turns out, than these beach body or, aesthetic-oriented goals that we often hear about.
I think what has always surprised me about you and your work. It's so evidence-based, and you really have this science kind of approach to it. You use these words that are fantastic. I related well to them, but I want to hear your take on them. You talk about autonomy, you talk about confidence, and you talk about connection. I'll repeat those: autonomy, confidence, and connection. And
Yeah.
I think for those of us who are maybe restarting an exercise approach, maybe we're looking for ways to kind of stay motivated. Those kind of really grabbed me and surprised me. And how do we kind of build on those three pillars to really make them a successful piece of our exercise routine and our exercise practice?
Yeah, that's a great question because those three words are near and dear to my heart because that made up a large part of my dissertation research. And so the first word you said was autonomy, and this is really important for motivation. And simply said, autonomy is about choice, picking activities that you want to do. So whether that's yoga, pickleball, walking around your neighborhood with your neighbors, things that you actually look forward to doing because you chose them. And then there's this confidence piece. And it's also that has to do with competence as well, being, having a competency in doing something. So that grows when you go through small, realistic goals that are easily achievable, but very early on in the process. And so, for example, if you have a goal of, I want to be more active and I really want to take walking seriously, for example. So if you think, well, I know myself and I know my neighborhood, I know I can be successful at starting off with 5 minutes walking every day. That feels very attainable. And I know that I can do that with, relative ease. That's enough sometimes just to get started, to do something that you're successful at right away, and then celebrating those wins. So your confidence builds because you're competent at doing the task that you set out to do.
I love that.
So if you kind of look at the flip side of that, if you take on something that's clearly well above your level and ability at the time,
Hmm.
well, you're going to feel defeated. You're going to be like, oh, I can't do this. And so taking on too much too soon or a task that's way too complex for your level at the time, that could be demotivating. So again, that's why we always say start small so you get those wins really early in your process. And then that third pillar is the connection. I call it relatedness in the research. And connection is just what you might think is just about people.
Mm.
So you want to do things, especially if you're starting a new behavior, a new lifestyle change, you want to do things with people.
Mm.
So invite a friend, join a class, or let's say you're out walking in your neighborhood by yourself, simply smile at the person that you pass by. Just having that human connection really can make a difference in just feeling like you're part of something else. So those three pillars that we described, so autonomy, confidence, and connection, they really work together. They kind of like feed on each other to help with motivation because then activity or exercise turns into something that you look forward to instead of dreading it, perhaps.
I really do. I want to drill down a little bit and talk to you about this idea of confidence and in particular competence, because I think so many in my audience, they might go with the tried and true. I've walked for years, I've used dumbbells for years. I kind of know what's best for me, but instruction, a good instructor can really build confidence and can certainly help with competence. Tell us a little bit about, kind of the perspective of an instructor and how maybe a moment from your research gave you this sense of just a small shift in terms of instruction can lead to greater motivation and perhaps greater energy towards an exercise plan.
Well, the role of the instructor is huge because if you're in a group class setting, the instructor sets the tone of the class. hands down. And they play a large part in the motivational climate. That's kind of a research term, but just the motivational atmosphere in the room. So not only coming from them, but also among the group itself. So when instructors swap out cues like "keep up with me," and instead do things like, or say things like "do what feels right for your body today," that really changes the energy in the room. It's a type of reframing of coaching cues that leaves people in the class feeling more positive and allowing them to feel proud of what they accomplish instead of feeling defeated. And this type of supportive language creates the environment where people feel safe, capable, and motivated to return. And this type of coaching and reframing is very different than comparing students to each other in
Mhm.
class,
Mhm.
or perhaps maybe you've had this experience if you're in a group setting where the instructor really pays a lot of attention to the star students or the people who really have tuned and honed those skills so they're the best in the class. Well, if all the attention is always on those individuals, then the people who are just coming in and trying to build their skills, they don't get the support and the care that they need. So in my mind, the instructor plays a huge role in helping lift people of all levels. So if you're in a group class situation, you really want to find an environment where the instructor really does encourage that type of alignment and companionship, and focuses on every student and the part that each student plays, not just the star students.
Mhm. Yeah, because this idea of competence, I think it lends itself to so much. In particular, we talked about confidence. We used to hear this phrase, "No pain, no gain." I think greater competence in our movement, greater competence in exercise routines can perhaps even defeat this idea of no pain, no gain, that kind of that mentality. But I think it's even more important than that. It's all about enjoyment. How do you get those especially in our audience, to focus on this idea of enjoyment and less on this idea of comparison and punishment?
I like to flip that statement, the no pain, no gain, and
Yeah.
change it to no joy, no gain.
Okay. Okay.
So if your physical activity or your movement doesn't bring some type of joy or enrichment to your life, whether that's laughing with a friend or listening to the music you love or
Mhm.
feeling more relaxed after you do it, you won't keep doing it. So think of physical activity as a gift to yourself and not some type of punishment or penalty for what you ate yesterday or how you
Yeah.
look. Some of us kind of came up in that generation where we're thinking that, well, exercise is a way to burn off extra calories. It's really not how we look at that anymore. So
Mhm, mhm.
if we can find joy in how we move, and if we can avoid thinking about whatever you want to call it, whether it's exercise, physical activity, or just movement, if you can think of that as joyful or something to look forward to instead of punishment, then you'll be more likely to keep doing it.
It's so I think, it is so much more joyful to be, just as you said, I smiled as you were saying that about smiling at someone else, especially as you're walking along the trail. You can smile at somebody else during a class or just wave hello. They're just the joy aspect of this, I think, defeats the pain part of it and defeats this notion that, the only way we're going to get gain is through this perhaps a leaderboard up on the wall that's giving this very harsh and perhaps stark comparison. But I think it also comes in the form of heart rates on a screen, that kind of thing. It could be disheartening to see some of that, and you might even feel judged in those environments. What do you say to people that are just feeling like, "Oh, this is too much for me. I don't want to get into that situation because I'm just never going to compare. I'm never going to be able to compete."
Yeah. Well, first of all, if you feel that way, you're not alone.
Mhm.
Many people feel that way in those situations. So if numbers on a screen don't inspire you, um, or this group competition concept, then it's not the right environment for you.
Yeah.
Remember, your health isn't always defined by metrics. Some people really thrive in that type of environment or by constantly looking at metrics, but then again, other people don't. I would say more people don't, to be honest.
Mm.
So I would seek out spaces that emphasize fun, health, connection, um, self-improvement, whether that means from class to class or week to week, or just even showing up. I mean, that's a win, right? So it doesn't always have to be about like lifting heavier weights or doing faster sprints. Um, you just want to be in an environment where you feel supported and not compared to others.
Coming up with Dr. Jo, I want to shift into the final part of our conversation today, one that I think you'll find especially meaningful. We've heard so much already from Dr. Sabrena Jo about how autonomy, confidence, and connection form the foundation of motivation, especially for older adults. We've talked about how group fitness can ease loneliness, how instructors shape the experience, and we're going to talk more about the 6 pillars of wellness, which give a fuller picture of what it means to age well. As we head into the final part of our conversation with Dr. Jo today, at least today, we'll focus on something deeply personal: goals, perseverance, and redefining success, not by what others expect, but by what feels right for you. Dr. Sabrena Jo shares why it's okay to let go of old goals, how to honor your body as it changes, and why joy, not perfection, is the best guide going forward. This last segment is about doing what you can to do best today and finding peace and purpose in that. Let's listen. Here now is more of our interview with Dr. Sabrena Jo, Senior Director at the American Council on Exercise, on Live Long Better, our series with the Not Old Better Show. Dr. Sabrena Jo is our guest, of course, returning guest and an audience favorite. Dr. Sabrena Jo is a Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise. I always enjoy talking to Sabrena. We hear from our audience that they love hearing from you too, Dr. Jo. I want to talk for a second more about your research, because I think this idea of intrinsic motivation is just such an important one for us to really dwell on it. It's pretty rare, isn't it, that people are finding it from within? And so what do you say to somebody who just, they want it, but they don't know how to really grab and get that idea of motivation and just keep it, because that's crucial to showing up every day?
I think it's important to normalize the concept that um, dips and wanes in motivation are completely normal. We all go through it, even the most avid of exercisers, the most avid of athletes. We all have, ebbs and flows in our motivation. And for a busy person or a person who is just, engaged with life, right? And also fits in exercise as part of their lifestyle, it doesn't mean that they're always thrilled to work out.
Mhm.
And so what keeps people going is a routine, accountability, and environment. And we talked a little bit about the environment before. But if you can create a routine that makes it easier, more convenient to do the thing that you want to do, exercise, then you're more likely to do it. So examples of that are like putting your shoes by the door if you're a person who walks outside, scheduling a walk in your calendar so that you get a reminder and you can't forget about it, and your friend's there waiting for you. So that friend is, holding you accountable, or sign up for a class in your community so that you've got a time and a place to do exercise. And plus you've got people that are waiting for you that hopefully you enjoy. Like I said, the environment, the instructor creates this nice environment for you. So we call those external support. So you're controlling your environment. You're trying to manipulate things to make exercise the easier thing to do. And in the beginning, especially as you're trying to get into this habit or this new behavior, if being active is somewhat new, these types of external supports really matter in the beginning, especially because they keep you on track, they keep you moving. The hope and the research shows that over time, the more you do that, you don't really need those external supports so much anymore, because they're part of your value system and who you are, and you identify as an exerciser, or you identify as an active person. And so sometimes when that starts to happen, that's where the magic happens, where you start to realize, wow, I really feel um, different when I don't move my body versus when I do. And I'd much prefer um, the times and the feelings that I have when I'm consistently moving my body. So again, notice I haven't said anything about how you look in the mirror or your weight on the scale. So these are
Yeah.
all just things that we can create some positive attention to. And I really think that's also part of the motivation um, puzzle, is to associate it with as many positive things as you can.
I'm somebody who likes to set goals. And over the years, my goals have really shifted when it comes to exercise. I'm much more of a believer in this idea of internal motivation. I always love what you have to say about these subjects. But over the years, my own needs have shifted too. Talk a little bit to us about how to kind of set some goals, but keep in mind that our priorities do just simply change over time. As we get a little older, things shift. What do you do about that?
Yeah, name that, recognize that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the first thing. So be flexible, be functional in your goals. So instead of aiming for a marathon, which might be out of reach for someone, maybe your goal is to walk pain-free on vacation, or to get up and down from the floor with ease. So goals should support your independence and your joy, and then they should adjust as your life does. Um, so progress isn't about how fast you can go or how heavy you can lift. It's just about how well you live. And so as we move through the decades of life, not only do our desires change, but our bodies change. And so we just have to accept that. And instead of, hopefully, you're not looking in the rearview mirror saying, look at all the stuff I used to do that I can't do now. Let's just focus on the things that you are doing now and what your body's doing now, and work with that. And I know that's not um, always what people want to hear, but the truth is we have to normalize the fact that every decade our bodies change, and we have to be flexible and adjust with our bodies.
I want to put you on the spot for just a second and talk about this wonderful part of your life as an aerialist, because you've been a coach for many, many years. Of course, you have a PhD in exercise science and motivation and this idea of confidence, all of these great things. You apply that to your aerial work. So describe that to our audience, what it means to be an aerialist, because I think we probably all have, kind of our ideas. We're gonna show a little bit of a few pictures in our video episode of the aerialist. But what has been your own personal fitness journey that's led you to your aerial work? Because I think that is also motivating for others, perhaps.
Oh, well, aerial art. So when we
Yeah.
think of aerial arts, that is a term that means a type of dancing in the air, and
Mhm.
we use different apparatus to do that. So you think of like the trapeze, or the silks, or the big metal spinning hoop, which is also called a lyra. So yes, thank you for mentioning this. I'm very much into this right now
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
my journey.
It's very impressive. It really is very impressive.
Thank you. It's very hard. So
Yeah.
to answer your question, aerial arts has taught me humility, for sure. Every new skill starts with fumbling and failing. Like you're just not good at it right away, and that's all there is to it. It's hard, right?
It's hard.
And um, coaching, and then also being coached by others in this fashion, has really taught me empathy. Like everybody's history, body, and motivation are different, and these lessons really remind me that movement is deeply personal. Um, and my role isn't really to prescribe what people should do, but to help them discover their own reasons to move. And so for myself in this journey, I had done aerial and performed as a performer many years ago. I went away from it for many years to pursue my PhD, and just life got in the way. And then about 2 years ago, I got back into it. And I'll tell you, doing aerial arts in your 30s and 40s is very different than doing it in your mid 50s. And it's something that had, like, the humility thing. I'm currently the oldest person in class, and you know what? That's fine.
I love it. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'm in the environment that really allows for that inclusivity. So the instructors are great, the studio's great, and they really work with all the different bodies and levels and abilities. So, I feel very at home there,
Mhm.
but I also recognize and respect my body, understanding I'm not going to be able to do a back bend like the 15-year-old that's in class next to me. There's just no way. So, and I'm, I respect that, and I'm fine with that. So what I have found is that if you find the right environment and it's something that you're passionate about, then I feel like those two things work really well together to help progress you in your journey. Um, so I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, it does. I mean, in so many ways, you've kind of taught us to kind of move beyond the mirror, but also I love that you did this because I was unaware that you had done this earlier in your life and in your career. And now have come back to it. I think that's also motivating for so many that we just think about what gave us joy previously years ago and return to some of that.
Well, thank you for saying that, because I was telling myself a story when I was thinking about going back into it, and I kept thinking that I was too old.
Huh. Interesting.
And I was kind of scared. And I'm like, oh, I know my body's not where it used to be. I haven't been working on flexibility. I couldn't do a pull up anymore. I mean, it was really not in a good fitness place compared to where I used to be. And so I was really kind of scared to to get back into it. But I really just had to take my own advice, and I had to start small, get back into it, do things that I could be successful at fairly quickly. So very small, very easy drills. And eventually, 1.5 years later, I'm now performing again. I'm a performer in the troupe that I used to be performing with. So,
Amazing.
and that's kind of my motivation. It's fun. I like to perform, and it really gives me that goal when a performance is coming up, to work really hard to meet whatever challenges there are. But that's not for everybody, and that's not necessary either. But I really I really want to emphasize that just because you did something when you were much younger, and your body's different and it's harder to do now, doesn't mean that you can't, or that perhaps you shouldn't try to pursue it again if that brings you joy. Because there are ways to go about it smartly
Hmm.
that fit with wherever you are in your ability, regardless of age.
I wanna shift for just a second with you if we can, and I have some what I call rapid fire questions for Dr. Sabrena Jo. I wonder if I can I just ask those real quickly to you and just have you respond with the first thing that comes to your mind?
Yes, of course.
Okay, good. Let's just jump into those real quickly. I wanna and I think I might know the answer. Maybe our audience does too. So maybe this is perhaps a little bit of a throwaway. What's your favorite way to move your body these days?
Aerial
Yeah.
hammock, for
Yeah.
sure. And
Okay.
I like it because it's both playful and it builds strength.
So this is the hammock part as opposed to the lyra, the ring?
Yes, so this
Are
is
they
a
both?
big silk type of fabric that is
Interesting.
just one continuous loop, and it's it's a way people also maybe have seen this. It's also called aerial yoga sometimes. Sometimes whole yoga classes are built around this device, and it's very nice for people of all levels to try yoga as well because it's very supportive.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Okay, early bird workout or evening energy boost? What's your favorite? What's your
Oh,
go-to?
definitely early.
Yeah.
I've always been an early bird for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, stretching before or after exercise?
Well,
Both is okay.
both really,
Yeah.
but more so after when the muscles are nice and warm.
Most underrated exercise for older adults?
Strength training.
Fascinating. Love that.
It builds muscle, it protects your bones, it supports your independence. So, a lot going for it, and I think it's underrated and underperformed.
All right, a phrase that fitness instructors should just retire for good. Leave behind.
We've already talked about no pain, no gain
Yeah.
and how that's
Yeah.
garbage.
Garbage. Yeah.
Uh, no excuses. Like, I don't like that. That's almost punishing. Encouragement works better.
I know you're so musical. Is there one song, one go-to song that just gets you going instantly moving?
Uh, I could never pick one song, but I will say anything disco will get my toes tapping.
I love it. I love disco too. I love it. I love it. All right. How about coffee before a workout?
Yes, and after and everything in between. I love coffee.
How about the best advice that you've been given about staying active?
Uh, Find a movement you enjoy, and then you'll never run out of reasons to keep doing it.
Just a couple more real quick ones. I think I might have a pretty good sense as to your answer on this one, but what's more important, consistency or intensity?
Consistency for sure.
Mhm.
Um, and then once consistency builds, then you can introduce intensity.
If you could lead a class anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Anywhere on a mountain. I'm being a flatlander from Kansas. I've always wanted to live in the mountains.
That's great. I love it. All right. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Let's shift gears and talk about something kind of serious. Serious in the sense that it's important. It's your work with regard to advocacy, the work that the American Council on Exercise does with respect to advocacy. And I want to talk to you about the term wellness because we hear it everywhere. But sometimes it can even feel vague. You know, sometimes we don't even have the right definition of it. And maybe it's even out of reach for some of us who are feeling a little bit older, a little bit more frail. How can movement support this idea of wellness and make sure that it's achievable, not just aspirational?
Yeah, well, wellness, interestingly, is a word that it has a real squishy definition, and it just depends on who you ask, honestly. And so I'll do my best to answer this question and understand that I'm going to answer it through the lens of what I do, which is help
Mhm.
people become more active. So wellness shouldn't mean this perfect routine of like eating the perfect diet and marathons, excessive activity. Really, it's about living well in the body that you have right now. And it's being able to get out of bed with energy, carry groceries without pain, enjoy gardening, dancing, walking, whatever your favorite thing to do is. And movement or being physically active is the single most powerful approach we have to support that kind of everyday wellness. And the good news is it doesn't have to be extreme. So even short, consistent bouts of activity add up to better energy, confidence, and independence. But there's more to wellness than just movement, even though that's kind of my lens. It's also defined as a dynamic state of health. And a lot of leading organizations, one of them being the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, for example, lay out wellness as these 6 interrelated pillars of health. So physical activity, nutrition, sleep, stress management, social connection, and the avoidance of risky substances. So, but again, I want to emphasize physical activity because it holds a unique place among all these pillars. It's both influenced by and supportive of those other 5 pillars. So if you think about it, being active enhances your sleep quality. It reduces stress. It has the potential to strengthen your social bonds if you're in the right environment. And it can help regulate behaviors that reduce harmful health risks. And at the same time, optimal physical activity depends on that sound nutrition. It depends on that you got a good night's sleep so you feel like being active. It also is, circular with stress management, meaningful relationships, and healthy lifestyle choices. So even though there are these 6 pillars of health, and they're all interrelated, and they really provide a sustainable approach to wellness. From my perspective, physical activity tends to be like at the top of the tier, like the one with the most encouraging benefits. But if you think about what I just said, none of these things require taking supplements, doing some weird biohack that you learned from the internet, buying a device. Like, these are just healthy lifestyle behaviors that have been known and researched for decades to support optimal health. So in my mind, that's what wellness means, this interaction of these different pillars and how they all influence each other.
That's so helpful. Over the years, you and I have talked about loneliness as being such a critical component. Certainly, one of the pillars is this idea of social bonds, and you talk about that in regard to this sustainable approach to wellness. And I think over the course of our conversations previously and then in the future, we'll get into more of them. But for me, loneliness is a big one, and connection is such an important one, especially for those of us over age 60. We had COVID isolation. We had, all of these times when we just weren't interacting with others. And I wonder from your research and your experience and under this kind of this overall banner of advocacy, how is it that group movement and exercise classes can initiate this form of kind of community care?
I love that. Yeah, I like that term, community care.
Yeah.
Well, we know that loneliness is more than just an emotion. It's a real health risk linked to heart disease and depression and even early death. And group movement or group exercise can be a powerful antidote because it gives people a reason to come together regularly. And in classes, you're not just moving your body, you're sharing experiences and laughing and encouraging each other and becoming a part of a rhythm that connects you to something bigger than yourself. You're all working towards this common goal of, if not improving your fitness, at least just finishing the class together, right? So, and I've seen people who started in these types of class situations as strangers, but then become close friends who check on each other outside of the studio and do things, outside of the exercise class. So that kind of connection to me is community care. And it's supports health, for both the body and the mind.
This is such a wonderful conversation, and I know we will talk more and more about all of these areas. You've just been such an advocate for older adult fitness over the years. What changes, good or bad, have you seen in terms of society's views about physical activity when it comes to older adults that really kind of offer an idea of support for this kind of idea of aging and doing so under the wellness banner that you advocate?
Well, the good news is that we're seeing more images and portrayals of older adults being strong and adventurous and vibrant. So we see images of people doing things like hiking and lifting weights or even trying new sports. And there's a growing recognition, I think, that being physically active is for every age, not just people who are younger.
Mm-hmm.
But the not so good news is that this anti-aging marketing is still everywhere. And it's often telling people that they need to fight or fix the natural process of aging or getting older.
Mm-hmm.
And that can leave people feeling inadequate instead of empowered. And what we really need is a cultural shift towards something that I like to call pro-aging, which is really just celebrating what our bodies can do at every stage, supporting functional fitness that keeps us independent. And we do this when we create inclusive spaces where older adults feel seen and valued. And movement and being pro-aging it's just not about chasing youth. That's not necessary. It's about thriving right now at the age that you are.
Dr. Sabrena Jo, it is always so wonderful to talk with you. Your breadth of knowledge on this subject is just it's so deep, and it is very, very impressive. And I value it. Our audience does as well. Congratulations on all this great work. You've given us some great tips on motivation today, but you've also stressed the importance of advocacy when it comes to aging, and that's so helpful for all of us. Thank you for your work. We're going to revisit these subjects. We're going to talk about new stuff over the course of this wonderful series with you. But thank you for your time today, and we look forward to talking again because this is an important ongoing subject.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to dig into these conversations even more with you, Paul.
I love it. Thank you, Dr. Jo. My thanks to Dr. Sabrena Jo, Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise, for joining us on our Live Long Better interview series with her. This is an ongoing series. We appreciate you joining us today. Thank you to Dr. Jo for her thoughtful breakdown of the 6 pillars of wellness alongside her powerful insights on motivation, movement, and connection. It reminds us that fitness isn't a solo effort. It's part of how we care for ourselves and each other. For more episodes in our Live Long Better feature, and to access our full catalog of inspiring guests and stories, head over to notold-better.com. You can follow us on social media. We are at notoldbetter on Twitter/X. We are on Instagram at the same, Not Old Better. This is a production of NOBS Studios. I'm Paul Vogelzang. Let's keep moving. Let's keep learning. Let's keep finding new ways to live long better. I'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.